guys more of an idea of how your mind frame should be when you're thinking about yourself and maybe even a little bit about your business. Performance mindset is how you go about your tasks, how you go about your delivery of everything, and you can only do that if you have the right mindset. So let's have a little dive in. And first thing I want you guys to think about is your fundamental level of where you're starting at. And the reason for that is because if we don't have all the fundamentals covered, we can't build from that base. So a lot of people, when they come into the industry or into the fitness industry, they don't have a solid base. They just like to do certain aspects of fitness. So they might be into lifting heavy weights, but they might not know too much about weight loss. Or you might have somebody who has a six pack, but they don't know that much about nutrition. They just got a six pack because of their genetics. So we have to really think about the impact that our actual fundamental knowledge base is going to have on anybody that we actually work with. So you can imagine that in the workplace, you could end up working with a whole bunch of different people. But the main thing that most people are going to be looking for is probably weight loss or probably increasing their muscle mass. Sometimes a little bit of both. And there is obviously other things out there, like more things to do with health and this or that. But the most preferential ones that you'll get will be those weight loss ones or those muscle gain ones. So we have to think back about our own journey, what has helped us, what are we comfortable with, but also then what's in our toolbox, that fundamental toolbox that's going to help people with achieving their goals. So really, if we look at the breakdown of what a good personal trainer should have in that fundamental kind of like zone, should be a good understanding of fundamental exercises, fundamental techniques, and that's in our own ability and our ability to showcase it to a client. Now, that's going to get broken down further as we go up the chain, but that's a fundamental. We need that exercise specialization almost, that we can perform anything we're going to need to ask a client to do. On top of that, we're going to have to be able to give them nutritional advice. Now, you start to learn that at your level 3 personal training, and it does give you a little bit of an understanding, but you're going to have to delve deeper to be able to actually achieve goals with clients, because you're going to come up against a whole ton of barriers from all sorts of different people that they have in their own nutrition. Now, that could be different things like they are from a certain generation and they only eat a certain way because they're not into fancy foods, or they're not into meal prep, or they're not into this or that. They could be from an ethnic background where they eat a certain type of food and that's what their families eat. It could be that they are vegan. And you could come up against a whole load of different barriers, as I said. So we have to make sure that not only do we understand nutrition, but we also have to understand where those people come from, where their mindsets are at, which is touching on the third kind of fundamental base a little bit. We have to understand nutrition in a little bit more depth than you learn. And this means going out and, again, I've tried many diets over the years, but I have my way of eating. I've tried many different things over the years, and it doesn't mean that you need to go out and try every diet, but maybe just have a little bit more knowledge on things as they pop up. So if something pops up and you're not quite up to scratch with it, start to get it into your toolbox. Start to understand what being vegan actually is, what are the differences between being a vegan or being something else. What's the difference between different ethnic backgrounds and what they eat? How can you make that better or healthier for them without taking them outside of their culture? How can you help somebody who is obese with understanding calories and how they could go about changing small things for a bigger kind of scope of change for themselves? These are all things that you will have to start to equip yourself with and should be part of that fundamental armory of sort that you can go to and help others with. And then, as I kind of alluded to, the last kind of part of your fundamental base should be the mental side of it. Understanding people's mentality behind any kind of goals that they may have, understand the mentality towards physical activity and nutritional kind of supplementation or anything they eat. We need to understand that mental capacity that people have so we can then affect change. So somebody who says they don't have enough time to train, that's probably not true. They're just saying that they've got a busy life and they don't prioritise training or don't prioritise physical activity. So how can we go about changing that mentality? Well, a conversation on how if they don't make time for their physical health now, they're going to suffer in the future. Or if they don't make time for their physical health, they're going to have heart attacks and not be around for their children. That's the kind of shock and awe sometimes we have to have, but it is the reality of somebody who doesn't take care of themselves. Somebody doesn't take care of themselves nutritionally. Again, we have to sit down and maybe sometimes have difficult conversations on their mindset towards food. I can't do food prep because I don't have time is the lamest excuse you'll ever hear. People have time, they just don't prioritize stuff. So we need to get them thinking about prioritizing nutrition, be that because it's going to help their goal, help their health, help their family. You know, added benefits to eating healthy is obviously going to affect whoever they live with. So there's a whole ton of extra benefits to eating healthy. We have to start to think about them and get them across to the client so they now prioritize nutrition. And then the last thing for them is always going to be their mentality towards the goal. So yes, people will be excited to lose weight. People will be excited to go and do a bit of training. But when it starts to get hard and the days sometimes aren't the best for them to train, or they feel demotivated or lacking of energy, are the days when they're going to fall back on bad habits. So we need to make sure that we are there as a trainer to kind of bring them out of that mood, because it is just a low mood. It's nothing else. They can change that. And we have to make sure that they have the right mentality 24 hours a day, not just that hour that they're in the gym with us. So making sure that you get a little bit closer to your clients, making sure that you understand them that little bit better, and making sure that they're open with you as much as possible is going to go a whole long way to actually achieving that mindset that you are needing from the client. So these are fundamentals of what we should be building as our own performance. And then we, as you saw there, we can then relate them onto the client to help them with their performance. So it is a two-way street in that kind of sense. When we are thinking about developing those fundamentals, we need to think then, well, this is how I think anyway. I like to build a pyramid. I like to think, right, here's my fundamentals. Have I got all them nailed? Great, I can move on to the next level. And the thing is, when you look at personal trainers and you look at the fitness industry, sometimes people will be really good in certain areas, and that's great. They lean on that, and that's who they are. But to be not just good, but to be great or excellent, we need to start then filling in some of those gaps once we get to the point we can. So if you really think you've nailed being able to train yourself, if you think you've nailed nutrition, if you think you've nailed mindset, then it's time to move up the pyramid and start to set new goals for yourself, new targets. And we can look at the opportunities that brings. That can bring us to doing things with our own physical health. Like, for instance, in the past, I've ran marathons, I've boxed for charity, I bungee jumped, and all these different things require a different level of athleticism for myself, and a little bit of a different engagement for my clients, a little bit of different training for myself. So that all brings on the fundamentals you've already built. You're starting to do different things with your own body, which helps you learn. You're starting to do different things with your own mentality then as well, because you're not just working for yourself. If you're doing a marathon and you're doing it for charity, you're doing that for different people. You're doing that to help people. So your mindset starts to change and you start to think more of the outer than just the intrinsic motivation that you may have. You also have the opportunity to think about qualifications or skills that you might want to pick up, be it in any of the fields, nutrition, right through to any part of training. And even then, like myself, I've dove into the kind of mental, psychological aspect of training, and done a whole bunch of courses to help build my repertoire when it comes to speaking to different clients. So keep building your pyramids, keep pushing forward with yourself, because as I alluded to before, it's a two-way street. If our performance improves in any area, you will no doubt see that come over to other people's areas as well. If you learn how to do CrossFit and you've never done it before, and you can start to teach that to some of your clients, that might be the thing that triggers better communication between you guys and gives you more of a understanding of each other and better training. So you're probably more likely to get the goal. You're better to see more performance from an actual client. And what can happen when you're training people is stagnation. But if you're continually trying out new things on yourself and trying out new aspects of training in any of the fundamental departments, then you're definitely going to see that spill over to your clients and stop that stagnation. So really good things to think about. The next thing to think about, and because I just mentioned it as well, is the case for practicing versus qualifications. Now, in this world we live in, there's certain qualifications you're going to need. So you're going to need to have your level 2 and your level 3 at the very basic to be able to then actually move forward in the industry. What they don't ask of you is any additional stuff. It used to be mandatory when I first started that you had to collect, I think it was 10 to 20 reps points per year, or CPD points per year. Now, that's not that many points to collect, but it's a lot of money to fork out. So your typical course might get you 5. It could get you 16. It depends on the course. So we have to then think, like, can we afford money for extra training? And if we can, we need to budget that and make sure that we're not just overreaching, because some courses can get very expensive. Recently, I was contacted about a partial scholarship in a course, and the course itself is £1,600, and they were going to give it to me for £800. That's a lot of money to spend on a course that may never benefit anybody. So you have to think quite quickly, is this course going to benefit my clients? Is it going to benefit my skill sets? Is it pushing me further up the pyramid? Or can I go and get practical knowledge on that? Do I need the actual piece of paper qualification to show that I'm actually equipped to do that? So I have done many qualifications in the past that don't give you a certificate at the end of it. They just say, well done, you can now go and practice what we've preached today. A good example of that would be Viper training, where I learned how to use the Viper logs, and they didn't give us a actual certificate at the end. They just said, you've passed the course, you can go away now and use Vipers with clients. Another one would be trigger point therapy. Again, I've done about 3 courses on that none of them gave you a certificate, but they did give me the ability to go and practice all the stuff I'd learned. So when you're thinking about qualifications, start to think about if you actually need the certificate, or can you just go and get the benefit by going and learning what you need to from maybe another professional or somebody who's really good at what they do in a certain aspect. For instance, if you wanted to learn how to Olympic lift, you could probably find somebody who would help you with that and be quite passionate about that. Whereas if you went and paid for an Olympic lifting course, it might cost you £200 to £600. So the reality is there could be money spent to get you that certificate, or you can go and learn from somebody else for free. So really, really good point to bring up when you're thinking about your own performance. And definitely one that I always say, look at your client base, look at what is needed, and don't just dive into a qualification for the sake of a qualification. I don't know if anybody would have heard of the next point, which is Kaizen. So Kaizen is something that anybody who's worked in managerial terms would have heard of. Most people who have worked in Pure Gym as a manager would have heard of it, but it's something that not everybody's heard of. So Kaizen is the Japanese process of small gains, and it was perpetrated by a Japanese man. And what he said is, rather than trying to jump ahead 2 and 3 levels by doing certain aspects, try to just improve that 1% as many times as you can. So if you think about doing a qualification, for instance, that might take you 6 months to 12 months to complete that. But if you were to go and just try to improve 1% all the time, you might get something done a lot quicker, because you're just improving that 1% over a longer period of time. And that's something that we always try to do every day. That's something that's kind of driven into us as a manager in Pure Gym. But it was very much my ethos as a personal trainer as well, to always try to improve a little bit each day. Doesn't matter what it is, but then when you go on, say, another course and you've improved and you've improved and you've improved, when they start to tell you stuff, you're going to be better equipped to deal with the information that they are trying to give to you. So that is something I practice every day. It's the art of Kaizen. Where can I improve today? What can I do to give me a little bit more learning today? Or what one thing have I learned today? Last 2 kind of things we're going to speak about before handing it over to you guys a little bit is going to be the open-mindedness that we kind of need in the industry nowadays. So it's all well and good to perform well. It's all well and good to have X amount of qualifications, but you'll see there's a lot of tendency in the kind of fitness industry to badmouth different people that do different things or different ways from the ways that somebody else does something. Just because somebody does something a certain way, we can't say that's wrong, especially if it's getting results. So yes, you'll see a lot of things on people doing booty kickbacks when they're on a stepping machine. Is it actually getting results, or is it just something that everybody's doing? Now, I'll probably be able to find out information on that to state that it doesn't actually create results. What it does is it gets people doing stuff that is just adding on to the stuff that possibly is getting them the results. So fundamentals like being able to squat properly, lunge properly. Yes, glute bridges can be done, but only if they're done properly. And the kind of loads that people are perpetrating should be used aren't correct. You know, it's going to be different for everybody. So seeing a girl being able to do 170 kilo hip thrusts isn't going to really help, because it's a very powerful movement, but all they're creating is power. They're not creating the muscle mass that they're looking for to actually achieve the goal. So be open-minded in the respect of other people will have other ideas, but also be open-minded enough to think that an idea is incorrect when it should be called out. We can call out people if they aren't doing something correctly and we have evidence to back it up, but make sure you've got that evidence. Don't just jump in and say something's wrong. For instance, one of the big debates you'll always see is people when they do a deadlift and they video it, and then somebody jumps in and says, well, you're backgrounded a little bit, so that's wrong. That isn't always incorrect. It just depends on the person's anatomy. We all know what an incorrect deadlift looks like, but we also know there's a lot of people out there who like to hate on people who like fitness. So don't just jump on the bandwagon. Try to understand the person or the load they're moving, or did it hurt them any? That's the kind of information we're looking for. So keep that open-mindedness there. Make sure that you're not closing yourself off to other ideas and other ways of doing things, and you will definitely come out a better performer with that kind of mindset. The last little thing you should always do is a little bit of performance mapping for yourself, and that's just if you're going to continue up the pyramid, what kind of qualifications do you need in the future? Where is your business going? How should you perform as a person? Where are your clients going to perform? What are they going to do? How is that going to help your business? There should be a little bit of continually developing that map of where you're going to next. Because just like anything in life, if we don't have something to aim towards, no goal, we won't see the performance at all, because we've got no steps to take to get better. So make sure you've always got that goal in mind. Who or where or what do you want to be in the next 6 months, and start heading towards it. For some people, that could just be finishing out their qualification. For some people, that could be having a different job. For some people, that could be becoming an assessor. It could be a totally multitude of different answers you're going to get there as a goal. And some people, it's just going to be having more information. But if we don't have those steps in place, that goal in place, we'll never be able to achieve it as best we can. So in your own performance, always think of it that way. In your own mindset, always think of it that way. And I can guarantee you that you will see success. So the last little bit now, I'm going to hand over to you guys by asking you to rate yourself. Now, this is a little bit of a performance mindset, rate yourself game. And I play it with myself now and again to see where I feel I'm at. And all I'm going to ask is for you to answer 5 questions. So I don't want you to just type the answers into the chat box just yet. What I want you to do is keep score. So you're going to answer between 1 and 5, 1 being poor and 5 being great, about different aspects of your own development. And this is to show where you are and to show you where you might need to improve. So it's a quick little game, 5 questions. And these are the 5 things I would probably write down as well to help you guys out and just let you understand where you can improve in the future. So the first thing, rate yourself 1 to 5 on your technical skills. How good are you technically at completing any kind of movement? How good are you technically at understanding nutrition and giving it on to somebody? How good are your technical skills? 1 to 5 on that. The second one is your coaching skills. So your coaching skills are the way you're able to coach a person to do something, be it their mindset getting better, be it their own performance in a physical activity. How can you coach a person to get better? Give yourself 1 out of 5 for that. The third one is your business acumen. And what I mean by that is, how well do you understand business when it comes to fitness? Now, this is a really hard one for everybody to grasp some of the time. So if you feel you're good at business, don't just give yourself 5 out of 5. Remember, it's about fitness and your full development of a fitness business. So rate yourself appropriately. Don't just jump into, I'm really good at business. Number 4 is mindset consistency. So everybody has a good day and a bad day, but how good is your mindset over a longer period of time? Have a little think about that and try to answer openly and honestly. And then the last one is your personal professional confidence. How confident are you as a professional? How confident are you personally? And that one is it's a hard one to answer sometimes, because people feel maybe a little bit insecure, or they might just be starting out and they might not feel as confident, and that's okay. That's good, and it's fine to feel that way, but we want to start to instill more confidence in ourselves. So rate yourself properly here, but don't worry if it's low or high, doesn't really matter. And then once you've finished rating yourself in those 5 areas, if you can just type into the Zoom chat box what you got out of 25. Don't be shy. 13. Awesome. That's good. What I would say is, don't worry about the number. That's halfway, so that's good. That means you're halfway to where you're getting full marks. And I wouldn't expect anybody, not even myself, to get full marks on this. This whole rate yourself system is based around the next step, which is improving your performance. So to improve your performance, you need to think of 3 to 5 things that you need to start learning. What is going to bring those marks up in those areas and help your learning? So I didn't see what marks you got where. So sorry, Ashley, question 1 was technical skills. But the whole point of this is to showcase that we have stuff to learn. So we should pick between 3 to 5 things to start working on. So that doesn't matter if it's your workbook for level 2, if that's where you are. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit of business. If you don't understand business, maybe picking up a business course, or researching business a little bit more, or speaking to personal trainers to help you in that area. If it's your personal confidence, then getting in and actually speaking with people. Again, Natalie, you would have seen the business course that I did the other day to help people with set up a business. So again, that's there to help. And I think, like, when you're looking at your scores, you'll have some that you're really confident with and some you're not. So really try to dive in and start to think, what do I need to move forward? So that's my little task off the back of today's conversation and today's webinar, is for you guys to think, right, what 3 to 5 areas do I need to start improving in, and how can I improve in them? What have I got at my disposal to be able to move forward? So again, if we don't have the income, but we do know people, start to speak to those people that can help you. You're always going to be the sum of the 5 people that are closest to you. So that's always a good thing to think about. So start surrounding yourself in more business type chats with business type people. You'll pick up stuff. Start surrounding yourself with the best that you can find on PTs. If you think you want to be a good PT and you see one that you really identify with, start speaking to them. They're going to be able to help you. And people will help if you just reach out. No matter who it is that reaches out to myself, I try to give them some sort of help, be it in the kind of physical form, nutritional, business, whatever people reach out, I try to help. So that's my kind of advice for performance mindset. Always look forward, always try to keep improving every day, that one little bit. And as I said, guys, I know you have both said business is your kind of thing. So I would advise looking into the people who have the best businesses. So look at the people who are at the top of the industry. What are they doing that you aren't doing? Reach out to them. Start following more business type people, more kind of successful business types like Warren Buffett, for instance, Bill Gates, all these kind of big CEOs who've had multiple different businesses, and start to learn not just from the fitness type of people, but also what works in business. I didn't learn all my tricks of the trade by just studying fitness people. I went out and did a lot of research, a lot of things about interviewing people, a lot of research on the consumer mentality. There's a whole lot of different stuff out there that you can go and then start to research. And that's a big tool because we have Google. We can go on there, we can start to research stuff. But if we don't know what we're researching and why, we're not going to find good answers. So that rating yourself, if you can try remember those questions, give yourself a couple of weeks, a month, and then rate yourself again and see if you've improved. And if you haven't improved, then look to improve in that area. Look to find those things out and really always try to strive to move forward. So that kind of ends the webinar tonight. I'll take some questions if anybody has any. Feel free to type away.